Hello and welcome to Integrated Rhythm. This is your co-host Bobby White, and I just wanted to hop in here quickly to say that today's episode is about a hypothetical situation that involves a hypothetical partnership, dance partnership. And we reached out to the hypothetical partners involved because even hypothetical people deserve to be reached out to make sure everything's on the up and up. And that is when we learned that the man involved in this hypothetical partnership, though they are cis, they do identify as queer and bisexual specifically. And we made the assumption, I think maybe a few times in the episode, that they might be straight, and that was an assumption on our part that was wrong. And this person didn't want us to worry about changing it in the episode or whatever, but we did want to point it out here because representation is important. And we love these hypothetical people who are very much not hypothetical people, as you might have guessed. But if you don't tell anybody, we won't tell anybody. And we hope you really enjoyed this episode. Welcome to Integrated Rhythm! Two swing dancing besties, that's Chisomo Shar Selamani, USA, and Bobby White are here to talk about race and other fun topics in the Lindy Hop scene. Today, we have a hypothetical puzzle. All right. So this has happened. We're going to leave out the names to keep the innocent, to protect the innocent, and the the way that goes. So there is a up and coming pair of dancers, and they're a couple, the dancing couple, doing the dancing couple thing, training hard, working hard, starting to rise through the contests, and then this very year they get a big break. They do really well in a contest. They get medals, they get applause, the internet goes wild. So here is the hypothetical question, or not the topic for discussion. After this event, after they've thrown down in front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of peers and friends and people who didn't maybe know they existed, after this contest, they're walking around the hallways of the event, they're checking their internet messages, they're looking at their Instagram feedback, and the follower in this couple notices that the leader is getting a lot more compliments, like obvious compliments, than they are. And bonus, often when they're standing right next to each other. So they're in the hallway, they're right next to each other, they just did the thing, they kicked ass at the thing. And someone comes up and says, "Hey, leader, dude, great job. Killed it. Amazing. Great work. I can see all the hard work you're putting into this. Man, it's amazing. Such an inspiration. Okay, see you guys later." Having discussed this a little bit with some other folks, this does not seem to be an isolated incident. Does not seem to be an isolated incident.
Yeah. I think this is a good question. Also, here's a follow-up question to this story. I know I'm supposed to be giving some thoughts, but what happens on the dance floor after this? Do more people get does are
the hands grabbing for the leader to get a dance? Is the follower making their way over to the sidelines to wait yet another 25 minutes before being asked to dance?
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Yeah. Because I believe that happens a lot in the swing scene, is that not only when you have a power couple killing it out here, not only does the leader get complimented more, but they also get more rewards in general. So like they're pursued more to dance. There maybe people want to be closer in proximity to them. And so leaders, I don't know if y'all know that y'all got some privileges up here in these Lindy Hop these Lindy Hop streets. There's a lot of privilege, and honestly, some of this happens before you even get attention. Like public attention like this. But when you get public attention, it disproportionately adds to your benefits.
Totally. Yeah. And, some of this stuff is, probably just inevitable based on
numbers,
based on, like the fact that like, oh, okay. So like, maybe there's only 3 really good leaders for every 5 really good followers in relatively like in your scene or something like that. Then there's going to be more demand for the said leaders than for the said followers just by the numbers.
Kind of like in Cleveland a number of years ago, we had 9 follows in a gym. That was that was our reality.
Actually, funny story. Just last night, we had a Balboa White Heat. We had a White Heat dance here in New York, and that's fast music, which doesn't necessarily mean Balboa, but it does turn almost exclusively into a Balboa dance. Not that it was meant to be, but it does turn into one. And I was there last night, and a fellow primary leader came up and was like, whew, it's going to be a rough one for us. And I look around, and sure enough, there are 6 primary leaders standing around and 1 primary follower standing around. And so that's the ratio of like what was left after that's the kind of ratio of who's standing around on the sidelines last night. Not that we can't learn something from knowing what it's like, not that we can't learn what it's like. It's an opportunity for us to be like, oh, wow, this is often what it's like for primary followers. So maybe we should take a moment to like experience this and like help us grow our empathy.
Yes, please and thank you. There was an ABW where I decided to take the brunch track on a Sunday, and a few friends, like I think it was like girls brunch moment, and we mostly were primary followers, and we didn't go to class. And when we were like coming back to the hotel, we were a bunch of we were met with what felt like a bunch of leaders from our class being like, "Where were you? There was no one." and we looked at them and we're like, "Well, now you know what it's like." That is our everyday reality. The reason why we so offset the balance, because we were so used to just like sitting out for so much of classes. And here you posed a hypothetical question, and then I saw the opportunity to talk about role inequity from the beginning,
which is very important. And like understand like there's many more great primary followers in my Lindy Hop world than there are primary leaders. That experience in and of itself does not justify only congratulating a leader in a show of teamwork, a show of partnership with a leader and a follower in a contest. So that's where things maybe get a little more complicated,
and
a little darker.
I think, or darker. I do think on the darker side of things, it actually might be a reason to celebrate more for that follower, right? It's like you got the opportunity to compete at this high level. You have worked really hard. There are so many other people who, like, you had the opportunity, right? Like as you mentioned, when there's a ton of you, like, here's the thing is that there are so many amazing follows. And I think sometimes there also ends up being like, we have some competition amongst us because of that. There's a bit of a scarcity mentality when it comes to leaders. But I would encourage us to kind of go the opposite route and like encourage one another and support one another, because those moments are so rare. Like I know I have friends who are amazing dancers who are continuously putting themselves out there being like, hello. Anyone want to compete with me,
hello,
with me? Yeah, right? So like, you have a competition partner. You threw mad air. You took a medal. Like, this is a time to celebrate because there are not that many of us that get to have the opportunity of the people. There's not that, so it's like, this is a moment to come and be like, yes.
And it's addition. So air steps were involved, and really great, high flying, powerful air steps were involved. If you go up and congratulate only the thrower and not the flyer, that's also a little whack, because if that air step goes wrong, one of those people is going to the hospital, and it's not the thrower you're congratulating. So like, there's an additional thing that, like, if you see someone throwing great air, you should give a little bit of like respect, maybe bow a little to the flyer and be like, thank you so much for your possible sacrifice. In order to entertain us today, you could have gone into a life-threatening situation, and you came out of it glorious and having shown us that we can conquer all in these lives.
Yeah. So it's like, if we were to think about the different layers of privilege here, right? So on the leader side, there's leader privilege, because many leaders, not all, but many leaders usually walk in with some privilege because they're often cis het men. So there's that.
This dude right here.
Right?
You're hearing him speak.
And we love him. So there's that privilege there. Then you have the role privilege, where leaders are often scarce. So they are desired often. And then you have, not only is this leader a cishet man, a leader, he's also the thrower. So he's the one safely on the ground. Let's move over to the follow. So you have cishet woman in consideration of privilege. There's marginalization in comparison to the cishet man. The role of the follow, often perceived as something and someone to be manipulated, and so sometimes like is disempowered. And then is the flyer, so has the responsibility of safety for themselves and also for the thrower, because obviously you want to be in control of how you're moving so you don't have impact with the ground or with the person who's throwing you. So we have these layers of marginalization hanging out here. And then on top of that, we're just straight up ignored. Also, my feet are firmly on the ground. I am not the person in question. This is a couple. I actually really want to call them Mabel and Lee.
Mabel and Lee. Oh, I love it. Mabel and Lee. All right, Mabel and Lee. Mabel will be the follower and the flyer in the situation. Lee will be the thrower.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, they are both they identify as man and woman in this case. So we'll just throw that out there. And let me give a quick little spiel for air steps. If you ever see an air step go really high or go really gloriously, oftentimes it appears, the illusion is that a thrower has just launched someone into the air in such a way that they do this magnificent thing and then they land on their feet. And so even the illusion of many great air steps is that the thrower is the more skilled person who is just launching some poor, helpless human being into the air, and thankfully they land on their feet. If this is ever your mental image of an air step, please know that the reality is that in any great air step, both partners are working very, very hard to accomplish the task through timing and muscle fitness. They have to create power. They have to understand where they are in space three-dimensionally and maneuver their body three-dimensionally in space while they have a split second to do so, and then trying to make sure that they land safely for their body from a great height, because you could throw an air step great, and if you don't know how to land great, you're going to hurt your knees, hurt your ankles, just destroy your body pretty quickly. So please, if you see a great air step, just try to make sure that you recognize in your heart that the flyer is doing just as much hard work and is just as much a part of that as the thrower.
Absolutely.
End of rant. Thank you for going with me on that journey.
Yes, you were. I appreciate that. I'm going to add a little asterisk. This goes for dips too.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because a lot of people are like, I'm just going to, as a leader, I can muscle my way through this stuff. And yeah, and while we appreciate your strength, it is a partnership situation.
Do not take anyone off their weight unless you have their consent to do so. You might think, oh, me and this person, we know each other spiritually. Like, I spiritually can tell. I can read people. I can read that this dancer I'm dancing with is going to love when I take them off their weight and put them in a dramatic dip. They're just going to think it's the greatest thing in the world. I might be a hero tonight. Even if you think that, do not think that. That is wrong.
Yeah.
That will be wrong. If you're right,
yourself.
Yeah, if you're right 4 out of 5 times, guess what? There's still that 1 out of 5 times where that person is going to be really, really sad that you did that.
Be a hero to yourself and that person, and ask a question, or don't do it. Do a nice, comfy situation.
There's plenty of cool moves you can do that don't take your partner off their weight.
Yes, and a hero comes along with the strength to hold back.
I love it. All right, so let's leader privileges, and we have people talking. When you go up and congratulate a person, make sure. I wonder if possible reasons, possible explanations for the situation. One explanation is if they know the leader, and they don't maybe know or recognize the follower. And so therefore they might see them in the contest and be like, that was amazing. And when they see them in the hallway, they don't recognize that is the specific follower that was dancing in the contest. If that happened enough. So let's say our leader Lee, let's say our leader Lee has a very distinctive look. Like maybe they have a really special haircut, or like, they wear a really specific outfit, and they're still wearing that outfit in the hallway. However, their partner Mabel has changed, or their partner Mabel does not have a distinctive haircut. And so theoretically, and maybe in those circumstances, you could be like, okay, I could see why someone congratulated the leader and not the follower. Should we still change our behaviors? There's something we should keep in mind in those instances.
Ooh, I mean, I'm a fan of asking a question. Like we move through life with a lot of assumptions about what's happening. And part of that is just having to be able to get through life. But knowing that we move through life with making a lot of assumptions, then asking questions and being a little bit vulnerable, I think is the better way to go. So if you recognize the leader, you can always ask like, oh, hey, was it you two? What?
I love that.
Was it you two? Because I'm really excited about what I just saw, and I want to congratulate the pair. And so there's that versus the like, hey, what's up, dude? Great job, dude, and keeping it moving.
I love that. I will throw out there that imagine whenever you see a partnership in a contest, try to frame them in your head always as a partnership. So that if you were to walk up in the hallway and you saw Lee, but you didn't recognize Mabel, you could still tell Lee, you and your partner killed it. Like, y'all did such a great job together. And then that way, Mabel could be like, oh, yeah, that was me. Or or then you could ask if Mabel was the partner. But at least if Mabel didn't want to speak up in that moment, at least Mabel could still feel your compliment. Mabel could still be a part of that thing that you're saying.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, because it is also the unintended side effects of that is that if you didn't, for whatever reason, recognize Mabel, or Mabel was like in earshot, they can like hear something nice about themselves and be like, oh, someone's speaking well about me. Or if they're staring at you, they're like, oh, that was, it still makes them feel special. I like that. I like that a lot.
I think those are two great kind of take homes to try out.
Yeah. I especially like the framing of successes being the couple, because it is a partner dance, right? And so
yep. I think it's very easy for us to only look at one partner, especially if that's very commonly if we're that role that we're seeing, if we're primarily that role. A lot of times, if I'm not judging, I'll look primarily at the role of the, like maybe 60-40 at the primary leader as they're dancing, because I'm like, that's my jam. What's this leader doing? How which is also not the best way to experience the dance, even so, because there are plenty of times when I've looked at the follower and been super impressed. And then most of the times the primary leaders are already doing stuff that I've seen before, or I understand, or like, I'm like, oh, that's cool, and whatever. And then like, I'll see a follower do a thing. I'm like, what? Holy crap. That's amazing. Yeah. So that's something for me to take home, is to maybe reimagine how I try to do that when I'm judging, but when I'm just like enjoying the social dancing, I think my brain just wanders that way. But maybe that's something I'm going to try to re-examine. Yeah. All right.
Yes. Next phase.
We have 2 twists. Twist number 1. Twist number 2 might be a doozy. Twist number 1. It turns out that Lee is a very sociable person. Lee is a very extroverted person. Lee is like friend as they walk down the hallways. Mm-hmm. Mabel, pretty sociable, but just not near on the like a level of sociableness that Lee is. Lee is like exerts that extroverted energy. So maybe now let's think about this maybe from an extroverted and less extroverted, or maybe extroverted and introverted lens. Does that change the way that we're looking at this conundrum?
I mean, you know me, I like to zoom out. So I know we have, we've talked about this in the context of teaching classes, that oftentimes students are drawn at the end of class to like the person who's like the most extroverted. So, it changes also based on the person's extroversion in the class. Because you and I have had this experience where there are times where like people are more drawn to you or they're more drawn to me or whatever. We've experienced both sides. And it often is directly related to like who's done more nurturing in their class.
Yeah. Or who's had more sleep.
Right. Morning is not my friend. And so there is that thing where people, and I'm gonna throw a little shade, pick on the swing scene a little bit. There's a bunch of skittish people in the swing scene. So like when someone is like openly extroverted, like, yeah, hi, oh, you're safe. Whew. Otherwise, when someone's a little bit quieter, people end up being like, do you hate me? So I do think that shifts it a little bit. But once again, when we think about our autopilot functioning, when we think about the way that we automatically function, it still bears reflection. It's still important for us to ask, like, oh, do I like this person more because they're on all the time? Like, am I expecting this person to make me feel good in a particular way? Like, am I expecting someone to work? And then when we go back to those spheres of marginalization and privilege, when you have an extroverted man, that's just like even more. I mean, if this man has a full head of hair and is tall, I mean, I will thank you, Laurel Ryan, for that.
I couldn't laugh because the helicopter was coming over, so I had to mute, but I was laughing that whole time.
But I mean, like a tall man with a full head of hair that's extroverted, great dancer. Yeah. The other people around them disappear, so we have to recognize that that's part of our bias as we move through this swing scene. Like we specifically are drawn to people like that. And so it's not to say that we shouldn't be drawn to that person or we shouldn't congratulate them, but we also need to remember that they don't exist in isolation.
Mm. Yeah. And I think it's still like, I think our takeaways from our first tier of the puzzle, I think are still great takeaways. Speak about partnerships as partnerships. If you're about to compliment one partner and check to make sure the other person is either around or not around to help you kind of like make sure that you give respect and don't leave someone feeling shitty. Yeah. But yeah, so again, and it's just another layer of all of this, the introverted and extroverted, which is something so many swing dancers can understand, right? So many swing dancers, especially since we do such a social hobby, like if you're at an event and there's 400 people around, and so many of us, are maybe swing really specifically on the scales, like, oh, I'm really introverted and swing dancing is the one place where I can feel extroverted, or I'm really extroverted and now I'm surrounded by 400 people, so my batteries are just like overcharged, I'm about to explode. I think so many of us in the scene can sympathize with our social batteries. By the way, there is an awesome thing that I bought that I haven't had a chance to try it much yet, but it's a little battery scale and it has an energy bar, and you get to put the energy bar where you want to, and it says social battery on it. And so you can wear a pin that says social battery, and you can put it all the way down to red if you're like not, trying to warn people that taking their energy might leave them alone on the floor sobbing, drained of all energy. Or if it's green, it means, yeah, come up and talk to me, that kind of thing. So that's a cool thing that I'm trying out to see, if I can communicate my social battery without having to use up social battery trying to communicate about my social battery.
I love that. You said as soon as you said I have a thing, I was like, do you have the pin? You have it. It's amazing. I've also thought about that as well. Sorry. And she stares into the distance. Part of what's happening in my brain is like, there's a question of if I wore it, would people actually pay attention and like respect it? Because there have been plenty of times in my life where I'm like, I got nothing left to give. And then I'm like, okay.
For you, we'll just make a hat, like a giant hat, like a Napoleon hat, like the really big to the side. And the battery, so like the charge will be obvious because it'll have like 2 feet of battery that they can see, and you'll see that it's on the red, and it'll be like a big sticking up lightning bolt on the red, and you will rock it, especially when you put it on with your aviators.
My red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I don't know if dear readers, I don't know if you saw when Chisomo got her American citizenship, but Jessica and I sent her a box full of fun American treats. And so she put on the bandana and the cowboy hat, the American flag cowboy hat, and the American flag aviators. And I was like, she rocked it like so hardcore. Like she could walk down the street like that any day of the week and just get 400 compliments. And it was just amazing.
It's fun. I like
everyone, you would unite America.
Yes.
I know you don't have the social batteries to unite America, but if you did, you could unite America by walking around like that.
You know what's funny is I went to sing the American national anthem and the Star Spangled Banner, and the Zambian national anthem came to my mind. I was like, "Stand and sing up." Wait, that's the wrong one. Yeah. But yeah, you're absolutely right about social battery. I was just going to share that as soon as I walk into an event space, if you ever see me, I just need to issue an apology. If you ever see me like within 5 minutes of me walking into an event, particularly if there are people in the hallway, like I am like a strange cat. I'm like a scared kitten. And
Which is ironic because you're such a warm and loving person. 400 people come up to talk to you in that hallway. So I've seen it take Chisomo like 25 minutes to cross a small room, just to get to like the sound system before we teach classes. And it's a beautiful thing, but also
it is a beautiful thing. But
those batteries, you better plug in at night.
I do, man. I'm really good for the most part. I'm good at faking it, but like usually the first couple minutes I'm stunned, and then like people are like, "Hi, how are you?" And I'm like, "Hi." But yeah, I do love people. That's the thing. It's like we're both extroverted and introverted. We've got both parts, and so I love people. I love events. I love seeing people be successful. If you've ever seen me watch a competition recently in the last year and a half, I've started to do this new thing, which is when I see people working really hard and they throw down, I just start sobbing. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Cowbell. I was a mess for the open. Like, oh man, I was a mess because and sorry friends, but little detour. The heat that you and Annabelle were in, I want to say that Desiree and Matt were in it as well. Maybe Tenny and Nick, and but it was just like all these amazing people who I know have worked so hard, and I just was brought to tears because and it was in prelims. It wasn't even in finals. Finals was great. You did a beautiful job. And I know you won that. So wonderful job. But prelims,
we won it. We did well, but anyway, yeah, I love that dance. I love that dance.
But the prelims, man, don't sleep on prelims, friends. The prelims of the Open Strictly, I was like, this is amazing. I just brought to absolute tears. So it's so many friends, so many people I know who just have been working so hard, and I'm like, your hard work, it is. Anyway, so
it's lovely.
All right, going back, but here's what I went to couples, and I was like, you guys were amazing, because that's what you should do. You should go to couple. There you go.
All right, let's twist this one last time. Final twist, folks. Mabel is obviously a cis white person, and Lee is obviously a Black American man.
Cis-het Black American man.
Cis-het Black American man. Riddle me this. What's going on? How does this change things? What are some of the things we should be thinking about?
Yeah. So we've added a layer of marginalization to our man, finally. Yay. Sorry. I'm joking, friends. Yeah. Anyway, so so this is interesting. There's a couple of things that come to mind that might not be immediately apparent. When we think about how Black folks behave in predominantly white spaces, oftentimes, W.B. Du Bois has this notion of double consciousness. So you're thinking about how you're operating in order to be perceived, understood, and move smoothly in a white world, but then also you have all the things associated with Blackness residing within you, or all the things associated with your identity. So there might be conflicting things about how you perceive yourself and the way other people are, and you have to reconcile that. So oftentimes what happens is that Black folks compensate, and one of the ways that we compensate is by being really extroverted. And there are people who are also just amazing people. And I believe that the individual in question is one of those. So just like a genuinely kind, genuinely awesome person who also is extroverted. And so that all equals like, oh, that did make sense that somebody came and congratulated him. I might also throw something out that's a little bit nefarious. We have a tendency with Black men, particularly if they're tall, Black, with a full head of hair, that we have a tendency to fetishize them, particularly in the Lindy Hop scene. So that means that we're going to, like, there's the layers of invisibility and marginalization, but there's a lot of visibility there. There's the sexualizing, all the things that come with fetishization. And so people may not even realize that they're specifically drawn to him. Yeah. Because if you think about it, there are a number of really great Black women who are teaching and performing and are present in the world. But like, maybe I would say that is more of a recent occurrence. Like, for a while, it was primarily Black men who were the ones who were at the highest levels or recognized well. So, yeah. So those are the considerations associated with the Black dude. Any other thoughts, Bobby?
No, I think those are great thoughts, and I'm a big learner here, and it makes total sense. You have, beforehand I mentioned, oh, maybe this person has a very specific haircut that makes them stand out, and so if you don't know this person, then you see them walking down the hallway, you recognize them. Oh, that person with that haircut, they did that awesome job in the contest. Well, now instead of the haircut, it's their skin color that sticks out. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, that was the Black American person in the contest. I see that Black American person walking down the hall because it's easy to spot in a hall full of mostly non-Black people. And so, I'll go and congratulate them. And then you have the vice versa of the follower not sticking out in that crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. And considering that Mabel is white and flies high, and I'm assuming is probably similarly shaped to a lot of other prominent followers. So going back to this notion of leader versus follower privilege and marginalization, like, there's almost this notion of like, well, followers, a dime a dozen. And so, there could be this temptation to just kind of erase the follower and just be like, oh, random great follower number 5. And so you recognize the Black leader because Lee has distinctive features, but you don't recognize the follower because of like the autopilot function of erasure. But that's also problematic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think exactly. This points out both sides of like if there's the concept that, I just need to not see race. That simplified concept of like, I'll just like not see these differences in people. Well, I think we just have a great demonstration of how it's problematic in both ways. Like, we don't recognize this follow because they look, or because, at first glance, they seem very much like many of the other follows that are walking down the hallway. We do see this Black person because they look different than the people who are walking down the hallway. And so our recognition of like what's going on, those assumptions that we make, we tune out the things that we tune out the follow, and we focus on the lead in this scenario because of the same problem of like, of the way our brain is trying to like interpret all this stuff.
Absolutely. And I mean, this is when we think about layers of marginalization and women in particular, Like, women are often like, they are expected to do and to serve and to work hard without recognition. And so this is just kind of going along with this notion of like, well, you know, like disregarding the hard work of this woman.
Just another Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
For just great follower in the contest.
Exactly. She's just, that's just what she does, you know? Which, once again, problematic. Just because a lot of people do something well doesn't mean that the individual isn't important. There's that. And then also remembering to regard women. Like, there's so many ways in which we dehumanize people. And in this specific case, it's women. Women are often forgotten. And so it's important for us to acknowledge that. Yeah.
Excellent. I think that's all the twists that I had planned.
Yeah.
And I think it shows how complex this whole thing is, right?
Yeah. And it seems like it's simple. Like I'm not, we're not trying to legislate people's actions, and people are allowed to have friends and be excited for their friends specifically. So we're not saying that in all cases you always have to only ever like approach things in a specific way, but it is a lot of what we do on this podcast is question the autopilot functioning of how we interact in a swing dance and Afrocentric spaces. Like, it's particularly since there are lots of layers. There's the layers of race and role here, right? And gender.
Race, role, introversion, extroversion.
Yeah. And so
all these things.
And so this is based on a true story. Mabel and Lee are real people. And so it's important for us to remember that a simple action can be really beneficial. Like, simply saying, like, you two killed it. That if you see somebody, you and your partner were amazing, like what Bobby said, or like, I really want to, I recognize you. Like, once again, I like honesty and asking questions. Like, I recognize you. I don't recognize your partner. If you could point them out to me, that would be great, because I want to tell both of you, you did an amazing job. Like, that thing to people who've been busting their behinds and like are really proud of what they put out there, or whatever their feelings are of the situation, that thing can be really, really affirming, can be really awesome. So, yeah.
I love it. Hope you enjoyed this conundrum. Let us know in various comments where you see this thing posted, how you feel about this. You can message us on our various platforms to let us know how you felt about things. We love hearing your thoughts, and obviously we don't have all the answers ourselves, and we're always open to hearing more answers, possible answers, and go out and do great work.
Yeah, we love seeing when people post integrated rhythm as a reference, or they bring up a question that we've brought up, and they are facilitating discussion about it. Like, please do that. We love it.
Woohoo! Out.